This national news edition originates from VK1WIA and is rebroadcast throughout Australia and around the world under a common licence published on the WIA website. This WIA National News Service is copyright to the Wireless Institute of Australia, and rebroadcast is authorised only under the provisions of that common licence.
WIA Director and Company Secretary Peter Cleave, VK8ZZ.
From Australia, this is the Wireless Institute of Australia with the weekly news service. This broadcast is in text, audio and video and is accessed on wia.org.au.
In WIA National News this week, Pete Cherry, VK2LP, WIA Returning Officer. Kevin, VK4UH with That's a Wrap, It Was, QTech 2025. Peter, VK4EA, WIA Vice President, with all that's going on at WIA HQ. Dougal, VK4EA, asks a question again. Have you got one? And Bruce, VK3FFF, returns to our airwaves this week with Special Interest Group News. But wait, there's much more in this edition of news from the Wireless Institute of Australia for week commencing Sunday, November 9, 2025. And I'm Editor Graham, VK4 Baker.
This is your WIA News. Just the facts.
Call for nominations as a Director of the WIA. Pursuant to the Constitution of the Wireless Institute of Australia, the Board has determined that the election of directors shall be conducted by ballot. Nominations open on the 9th of November 2025. 3 directors retire at the conclusion of the next annual general meeting, which will be held on May 2026. The retiring directors are Lee Moyle, VK3GK, Steve Green, VK2TSG, and Chris Dmitrijevic, VK3FY. Each retiring director is eligible for re-election. Nominations are called from persons seeking election as a director of the WIA. A director must be a voting member of the WIA, must hold an Australian amateur radio license, and a company director identification number. Any person wishing to nominate as a candidate for election as director of the WIA must deliver or cause to be delivered to the returning officer by no later than 2:30 p.m. on 16 December 2025, a nomination form which is available on the WIA website and at the link in the text edition of this broadcast, or by telephoning the national office. Candidate information will be posted online and emailed to members. Members are requested to ensure that their email address is correctly recorded on the WIA membership register. Nominations received by facsimile or by electronic means cannot be accepted. This has been Pete Cherry, VK2LP, WIA Returning Officer.
This is Kevin, VK4UH, President of the Brisbane VHF Group. Last weekend we conducted our inaugural amateur radio conference, QTech 2025, at Chermside in Brisbane. The conference attracted over 70 registered delegates, representing almost all VK call areas and also from New Zealand. The majority of those attending came in person. A few, overcoming the tyranny of distance, chose to participate remotely. Over the weekend, we assembled an outstanding group of presenters who visited many areas of our amazing and ever-expanding hobby. Now, while most of the presentations were delivered in person, some were streamed in from remote locations, including from Bo OZ2M in Denmark. The theme of this year's conference was the concept that the future of amateur radio is in our hands. And to this end, we sought out the voices and opinions of the young and the new to give us their perspective on where we might go to attract newcomers to our ranks. We were all delighted to be addressed by 2 young enthusiastic amateurs, Otto VK4OTZ and Finn VK4II, who spoke on their chosen topic, Young Hams, Yes We Do Exist. Both university students, they described their interests and backgrounds in the hobby and included how they currently communicate amongst themselves. Now, most of this was a complete revelation to older amateurs like myself, and I would urge everybody to download this talk when it becomes available for streaming. In the same vein, the audience later participated in a town hall-style open forum discussion with a panel of amateurs, including Otto, John VK4BZ from the Redcliffe Group, and Scott VK4CZ from Brisbane, who discussed the future of amateur radio and the question of attracting new amateurs into the hobby. We were also addressed by Scott, VK3KJ, President of the WIA, and Grant, VK5GR, Chair of the Technical Advisory Committee, who gave us up-to-date information about the new initiatives being developed for the hobby and proposed changes to our band plans to better reflect current spectrum pressure and changes in our operating practices. These presentations, of wide general interest, were balanced by speakers sharing their expertise in areas at the frontiers of our hobby, including microwave operation and equipment for our highest amateur band allocation at 241 gigs, using light for communication, moon bounce at 10 gigs, and the backyard reception of radio signals from deep space probes. Following the time-honoured ham radio tradition of improvisation and the modification of existing equipment, we even heard about expanding the capabilities of the brand new ICOM 905 super radio transceiver. A high spot of the entire conference was a live telebridge with astronaut Johnny Kim, KJ5 HFP, aboard the International Space Station as it orbited over Queensland. As a collaborative effort between the conference organisers, the ARIS project and the Wavell State High School here in Brisbane, 15 students had the near unique opportunity to pose questions to Johnny through the medium of amateur radio. Contact with the spaceship was made via the ARIS ground station, VK4ISS, in Mackay, using the 2-metre band. The ISS was in range for 11 minutes, which was just enough time for all the students' questions to be asked and their replies received. And we're indebted to Shane, VK4KHZ, the VK ARIS coordinator, for making this contact a reality. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everybody from the Brisbane VHF group who helped to stage this event, in particular Scott, VK4CZ, and Peter, VK4EA, without whose efforts this just would not have been possible. I'd like also to give my thanks to all of the QTech 2025 presenters who gave freely of their time and who shared their experience and expertise with us all. I'd also like to thank all of the delegates who supported the conference by attending. Without that support, meetings like QTech have no purpose. Now, all of the presentations were recorded and will shortly be posted to the Brisbane VHF Group YouTube library for remote screening by the wider amateur community. And preparations are already underway for QTech 2027, and we hope to see you all there. This has been Kevin, VK4UH.
G'day all, this is Peter, VK4EA, WIA Vice President in Turrbal and Yagara Country on behalf of the WIA Board. This weekend just passed, I swapped to my Brisbane VHF Group hat and assisted with the delivery of QTech 2025. It was a hectic few months leading up to the weekend, organising a lot of moving parts. Highlight of the weekend for me was the ARIS contact Saturday evening with 12 students and teachers from Wavell State High School posing a number of questions to astronaut Johnny Kim live via amateur radio through Shane Lynn's VK4KHZ ground station in Mackay. The expression on the students' faces when Shane established contact was priceless, and we hope we have inspired a number to pursue a career in technology and ideally consider pursuing an interest in radio. During the QTech 2025 Tech Conference, we heard from Grant, VK5GR, the TAC Chairman, Technical Advisory Committee that is, explaining the band plan change proposals and the consultation process now underway. It is vital that we all engage with this consultation and understand the very real challenges that our hobby faces. Spectrum is hotly contested by organisations with far deeper pockets, and as our erstwhile life member Peter Young, VK3MV, is known to quote often, no spectrum, no hobby. Also during the QTech proceedings, we were treated to a fantastic presentation from Finn and Otto, VK4II and VK4OTZ, demonstrating all is not lost. There are plenty of young people wanting to get a licence and become active. A few very pertinent suggestions were put to the audience on how and why young people will want to participate. And then with my WIA VP hat back on, the QTech Town Hall discussion highlighted a number of initiatives the WIA and clubs can embrace to encourage youth participation. I made many notes. Shortly, we'll be placing the new website in production once we sort out some linking issues. For the moment, clubs, contests, Spectrum, national news parts of the existing website will remain, with a progressive migration to a much more modern, engaging new instance. We ask for members' patience while we work through the transition. Next major WIA related event for me will be the VK Summit, convened by the Albury Wodonga Amateur Radio Club first weekend in May 2026. The club has been working hard to organise a great event. We encourage all members to support them by attending in person. And lastly, 21st November I'll be heading to the Bunya Mountains to help activate the Brisbane VHF Group contest call sign VK4IF to get some fun microwave contacts while participating in the spring VHF UHF Field Day. Hope to speak to some operators in South East Queensland during the contest, and hopefully further afield as Centropo. Please make sure you send your login. No matter how many contacts you make, many participants are relying on your logs to verify their scores. That's enough for me this week. This has been Peter, VK4EA, Vice President of the Wireless Institute of Australia.
This is VK1WIA. All points of contacts from today's news stories are to be found in print when you read the web editions, www.wia.org.au.
This is Dougal, VK4EKA. When looking for the band plan review, on the WIA page was also a piece about electromagnetic radiation safety. Unfortunately, the video link showed no longer available. The regulator started introducing rules about radio frequency radiation safety around 2000, with an RLCD in 2003, updated in 2015. The ACMA in 2005 produced a how-to document of 18 pages, including a check sheet to fill in and instructions for amateurs. The spreadsheet authored by VK3UM was used by many, although no longer updated. The class licence for amateurs contains 8 pages giving the radio frequency radiation safety requirements for amateurs, and the WIA provide a link to the Radio Society of Great Britain calculator. The Amateur Radio Relay League in the USA have similar. The important part of the class licence is the amateur must keep a record of the radiation safety assessment of their station. When I have been out with the local radio club portable for the John Moyle or VHF UHF Field Day or JOTA, I have filled in the 2 pages of the ACMA advisory of 2005 as a record. It takes about 15 minutes. Although unlikely, the ACMA can ask for your assessment record. Have you got one? This is Dougal, VK4EKA.
From here, there and everywhere, you've tuned to the Wireless Institute of Australia's National News Service. We are VK1WIA. Now with international news, Jason, VK2LAW.
International news is with thanks to Amateur Radio Daily, ARRL, Newsline, NZART, RSGB, SARL, and the worldwide sources of the WIA. YASMI Excellence Award. This is presented to individuals and groups who, through their own service, creativity, effort and dedication, have made a significant contribution to amateur radio. The contribution may be in recognition of technical, operating or organisational achievement, as all 3 are necessary for amateur radio to grow and prosper. The latest recipients are Ed Engelman, Kilo Golf 8 Charlie X-Ray. YASMI recognises Ed's year of support for young amateurs through the Yacht program, licensing classes and in-person mentoring. Don Jones, Kilo 6 Zulu Oscar. Don has played an instrumental role in developing an active young amateur community in Malawi. The enthusiasm of the young operators is inspiring, especially their ability to train and support each other as they develop on-air experience. The Board of Directors of the YASMI Foundation has also announced that it's made a grant to support a portion of RM Noise operating costs. The RM Noise project uses AI with the goal of removing noise from SSB voice or CW. Recognising industry growth and student demand, a university in northern Washington state in the US has developed a full electrical and computer engineering department on its campus, and it's being chaired by an amateur radio operator, Kilo Golf 7 Whiskey Foxtrot Tango. The Zero Retries newsletter, which reports the development in its latest edition, said that Janelle Ledger, Dean of the College of Science and Engineering, credited student and industry demand as the primary reasons for creation of a new department. She said the move is being made with the support from the state to create the degree programs. Majors will select from 4 programs, which will include wireless networking and signal processing focus, as well as AI, electronics and energy. The professor chairing the new department is Andy Klein. On the university website, the professor writes that having a standalone department will pave the way to creating partnerships and internships with companies and generate more internships for students. Andy Klein is an amateur radio operator who received the call sign Kilo Golf 7 Whiskey Foxtrot Tango in July. To South Africa, all successful candidates from the October radio amateur examination who submitted their documents have had their licence applications filed with ICASA. This has been confirmed by the SARL RAE manager. ICASA has committed to issuing the licences as soon as possible. Once the SARL receives them, they'll be emailed to the candidates. Candidates are reminded that the SARL agreement with ICASA allows new operators to go on the air as soon as they receive their exam results and call signs, even before the licence document arrives. It's congratulations to the team at the Radio Society of Great Britain's National Radio Centre, NRC. They were selected for the 2025 Sir Arthur Clarke Education and Outreach Team Award for their work advancing knowledge into amateur radio satellite communications. The British Interplanetary Society conferred the award, which was accepted by RSGB General Manager Steve Thomas, Mike 1 Alpha Charlie Bravo, NRC Coordinator Martin Baker Golf 0 Golf Mike Bravo, and NRC Volunteer Brian Hardy Golf 4 Bravo India Papa. The US Federal Communications Commission, FCC, is taking steps to ban a China-based telecom company from providing international and domestic telecom services to and within the US. The FCC's order to show cause begins the process of revoking the authority of HKT International Limited and its subsidiaries. The FCC that HKT is affiliated with a CCP-controlled entity, namely China Unicom, which the FCC says it's on its covered list due to national security concerns. The Commission says that its action against HKT is consistent with previous bipartisan efforts to deny or revoke authorizations to Chinese state-owned enterprises seeking to provide telecommunications services in the US. If your plans next year include attending Ham Radio Friedrichshafen in Germany, you may want to set aside a day to consider sky gazing that has long been a companion to amateur radio. Astro, an astronomy trade fair, is making its premiere next year. The exhibition centre, that will be home to the large ham radio trade fair from June 26th through to the 28th, will also be welcoming amateur astronomers and technology hobbyists on June 27th. Space is being set aside in Hall B1 for the trade fair focusing on astronomy, astrophotography and related activities, giving hams and others many more worlds to explore. Weird and wonderful. This will be music to your ears, or maybe not. Jim Davis, Whiskey 2 Juliet Kilo Delta, explains, and then it's to Felix. In Sydney, I'm Jason, VK2 LAW.
When the musician-composer duo of Brian Eno and Beatty Wolf launched their new album Liminal on the 10th of October, they really launched it. The pair beamed the album into space via microwave transmission 5 days after its release. At the helm of Liminal's liftoff was Nobel Prize-winning physicist Robert Wilson, operating the Holmdel Horn antenna in New Jersey, which had played a role in helping prove the Big Bang Theory. Music, the universal language, is now the universe's language. Even NASA has got into the act. In 2008, the space agency marked its 50th anniversary by sending a recording of the Beatles across the universe into deep space. Last year, its Deep Space Station 13 radio dish antenna in California beamed the first hip-hop song into space, Missy Elliott's The Rain Supa Dupa Fly. This past May, the European Space Agency broadcast a Vienna Symphony Orchestra performance of Johann Strauss's Blue Danube Waltz from its radio antenna in Spain at the speed of light in the direction of the Voyager 1 probe. This is the never-ending journey of music. It's now surrounded by constellations and CubeSats, dancing with the stars. I'm Jim Davis, W2JKD.
We are VK1WIA. Now, operational news with VK4FUQ. Felix.
Hello there. Year to contest December 2025. The Fisher's Ghost Amateur Radio Club are hosting the inaugural VK Yoda Contest the entire month of December. Then just 3 days from the end of what we call the VK Yoda Contest comes round through the Yoda Contest, organised by the IAA Region 1 Youth Working Group in cooperation with the Hungarian Amateur Radio Society, December 29. A great way to gain extra contacts for the VK Contest organised by Fisher's Ghost AR Club. Now contest-wise 2026. 1st of January 2026 NZART Centenary 100 QSO Challenge. You are invited to kick off the NZART Centenary year in style with a fun on-air event. Can you make 100 contacts in 24 hours? 1101 31 December 2025 UTC, that is 0001 hours NZDT 1 January 2026 to 10:59 hours 1 January 2026 UTC 23:59 hours NZDT 1 January 2026. Object: to celebrate the start of the 2026 NZART Centenary year by making 100 QSOs at amateur radio stations in 24 hours. All bands including WAC, as this is not a contest. All modes are permitted. Special categories include most portable stations, most DXCC entities, the fastest to work 100 QSOs as judged by the time of the 100th QSO. Most modes, for the person who uses the most different modes in making the 100 QSOs. Full details on the new NZART site, which Bruce will tell us about in a moment, but the link is in the text edition of this week's WIA National News. March, Jock White Memorial Field Day. This annual event is named to honour Jock White, ZL2GX, NZART contest and awards manager for over 40 years, for the service that he gave to NZART during that time. February 28, Saturday, 1500 hours to 2400 hours NZDT. And Sunday, March 1, 0600 hours to 1500 hours NZDT. 40 and or 80 metres, phone, SSB and or CW 100 watts PEP maximum. Stations using 2 transmitters may operate simultaneously on both bands. However, only one transmitter may be operated on a single band at a time. Single transmitter stations may operate on one or both bands. May, Harry Angel Memorial Sprint, May 2nd. Now let's open the DX window to the world. To mark the 60th anniversary since the first French satellite, named Asterisk, was launched into orbit on 26 November 1965, members of the Bengals Radio Club F4 KLR will be active as TM60 ATX on Fridays and Saturdays between 14 November and 13 December, and again on 19 to 23 December. All SSB and CW QSOs will be confirmed automatically via the Bureau. FT8 QSOs will be confirmed by EQSL. South Africa. The special event stations ZS100 SARL, ZS6 SRL and ZS9 HQ celebrate the 100th anniversary of the South African Radio League, the SARL, until the end of 2025, so not much longer to work them if you need them in your log. Celebrating the 70th anniversary of their organisation, members of the International Police Association Swiss branch are active as HB70 IPA, now until 31 December. Activity will be on various HF bands and the QO100 satellite, QSL by LOTW and EQSL. Team S21 STX will be active from deep inside the Sundarbans, the largest mangrove forest in the world, and a UNESCO World Heritage Site this week, 13 to 15 November. The Sundarbans mangrove forest in the Ganges Delta, formed by the confluence of the Ganges, Brahmaputra and Menga rivers in the Bay of Bengal. Organised by the Bangladesh Amateur Radio Club, Khulna, the event will be led and managed by young operators using SSB and FT8 on the 40, 20, 17, 15, 12 and 10 metre bands. Special call sign LA100A is active until the end of the year to mark the 100th anniversary of the first amateur radio two-way contact between Norway and the USA in November 1925. QSL directly to LA100A via the Bureau or QIZ.com. For WIA National News, I'm Felix, VK4FUQ in Ingham.
From here, there and everywhere, you tune to the Wireless Institute of Australia's National News Service. We are VK1WIA. Now, special interest group news with Bruce, VK3FFF.
And a very good day to you. Firstly, thank you to Graham, VK3GRK, for filling in for me while I was away, or as he described it, while I'd gone missing. I'm sure we'll hear more from him once he's found the key. Worldwide Special Interest Group news. Summits on the air, Worldwide Flora-Fauna Program, Parks on the air, and other adventure groups. The VKFF National Get-Together in VK1 ran from the 24th to the 27th of October and turned out to be a fantastic weekend. Matt, VK7MAT, reporting for VK7WI News, said there was a great turnout, with plenty of guest speakers, park activations, and even a hands-on session where everyone got to build a linked dipole antenna. The fun didn't stop there either, with many operators still activating parks on their way home to their QTH. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, Final Frontier, worth considering. With SpaceX's 10,000th Starlink satellite launched to orbit and 8,562 active as of October 20th, a staggering 2/3 of humanity's active satellites in orbit are controlled by a single private company. Startup companies and defense primes are rushing to get in on the mad dollars from President Trump's Golden Dome program, which calls for space-based interceptors to shoot down ballistic missiles, akin to Reagan's Star Wars program. Apex announced a self-funded mission to test homegrown interceptors mid-next year. And Pakistani astronaut to visit China's Tiangong space station. 2 Pakistani astronauts will undergo joint training with their Chinese colleagues. In the future, one of them will make a short-term flight to the Tiangong orbital station as a payload specialist. During the flight, he will conduct a series of scientific experiments for Pakistan and perform routine crew duties. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, Internet, the Ham's Domain, NZ Art Centenary website. NZ Art's historian has created a website that provides up-to-date information on the activities that are being organised to celebrate their centenary in 2026. Take a look. It's well worth placing it in your favourites bookmarks, so you can keep up to date with arrangements and events that have been organised just across the ditch. Worldwide Special Interest Groups, IOTA Tour. Arnold DK1VK is active as OZ0ROM from Romo Island, EU125, on the 8th to 14th of November and again on the 21st to 28th of November. In between the 16th to 19th of November, he'll be active as LADK1VK from Utsira Island, EU055. He operates SSB on 80 to 10 metres, maybe also 160 metres, from both locations. QSL's DK1VK and LA DK1VK via Arnold's Home Call, DS1VK, Direct or Bureau. And 5J4W is the call sign of PY8WW's IOTA de-expedition to Playa Blanca Island, SA084. He expects to go QRV at around 20 hours UTC on the 12th of November and to operate single sideband, CW and digital modes on 80 to 10 metres until the 16th or 17th of November. QSL 5J4W via Club Logs OQRS. Now some OC reminders. OC 031 C21TS Nauru. Phil, C21TS, is active on the island of Nauru, OC031, until the 30th of November. The station is spotted regularly using FT8 on the HF bands. QSL via Logbook of the World or OQRS. See QRZ.com for more information. And OC047 H44MS, Malaita Island in the Solomons. Bernard, H44MS, will be active from Manakwai village near Maluu, northern Malaita Island, covering the period next year from January the 25th to April the 10th. And one for next year's IOTA diary, OC66 TX9XG, Rangiroa Atoll. Haru, JA1XG1, has announced that he will be active from Rangiroa Atoll, French Polynesia, OC066 as TX9XG during April the 1st to 8th, 2026. He plans to QRV on 40 to 10 metres, CW, SSB, RTTY and FT8 using the new IC7300 Mark 2, QSL TX9XG via Haru's home caller, JA1XGI using OQRS club log. Worldwide special interest groups, Maritime. Station operations closed. Maritime Radio Historical Society are sorry to report that MRHS stations KPH, KFS and K6KPH will be off the air for the duration of the US government shutdown. Also, station visits will not be possible during this shutdown period. And here's some Yota news with Alan, VK2COD.
Thank you, Bruce. The next month is Youngsters on the Air Month. From 1st December to 31st December 2025, get ready for an action on the air with Yodas. Young radio amateurs from Belgium will be operating under the special call sign OQ25 Yoda. As a matter of fact, the entire month of December, several youngsters will become active with Yoda as suffix in the call sign. The idea for this is to show the amateur radio hobby to youth and encourage youngsters to be active on the ham radio waves. Turning to Canada in December, Inverhuron Ham Radio Group and the International Youth in Amateur Radio Group will be operating every Saturday and Sunday with VA3YCG to support youth in amateur radio. Except for December 13 and 14 weekend, on December 13, the will operator the special event call sign as VA3XXT for Maconi's 124th anniversary. Here in Australia, we have the VK Yoda contest hosted by the Fisher's Ghost Amateur Radio Club. I encourage all clubs and groups to open their doors in December so youngsters can get on the air and experience amateur radio.
Thanks, Alan. Worldwide special interest groups, video. Amateur radio on the International Space Station, ARIS, was the first educational payload on the International Space Station, ISS. As a result, ARIS is celebrating 25 years of the ISS with an SSTV event to take place November the 12th through to the 20th. The series will also celebrate scouting. Series 30 will consist of 12 different images transmitted every 2 minutes on 145.8 megahertz. I'm Bruce, VK3FFF from sunny Bendigo.
It's a date. Remember, clubs are welcome to email text with audio for this section. nationalnews@wia.org.au. Next weekend, VK7, Maina Hamfest, Saturday, November 15. VK3 Rosebud Radio Fest at the Eastbourne Primary School Rosebud, that happens November 16. And the Picton Hamfest in VK2, November 23, whereabouts the Picton Showgrounds at 8 a.m. Now, you will have noticed this week's news has gone over the allotted 30-minute mark. And some, those listening on a variety of automatic stations, won't even be hearing this plea. But it's still worth a reminder. Pass it on. Apart from WIA directors and WIA direct national news, we'd appreciate items certainly no longer than 90 seconds in length, as we only have a half-hour show. And remember, the sooner you submit material, the more the likelihood of it being broadcast in the very next edition of WIA National News. But each recorded item will only be broadcast once. If you want a couple of mentions, sure, but please submit different slants to keep your event fresh. So, that's a wrap. Until next we meet, I'm Graham, VK4 Baker. Walk softly.
From Australia, this has been the Wireless Institute of Australia with the weekly news service. This broadcast is in text, audio and video and is accessed on wia.org.au.
Courtesy of Bevan, VK5 BD's ATV and YouTube channel, this has been WIA National News. We're back now, live and local, and your voice, your callbacks. And don't forget, tick like.